Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Feel the air move gently in and out of your chest. Tonight, we begin a long, quiet journey together. A journey to a city that once began as nothing more than a dream. A dream resting on 7 hills beside the river Tiber. Long ago, 2 brothers were born, twins, Romulus and Remus. They were cast aside as infants, abandoned by the waterside. The river flowed steady and calm, the night sky above wide and endless. Beside them came a she-wolf, moving silently, her eyes soft, her body warm. She bent down to the children and offered them her milk, her breath gentle, her care unbroken, her heart fierce but kind. The twins lived, the twins grew strong, and the forest became their first home. A shepherd later found the boys, his footsteps slow, his hands calloused from labor. He carried them to his cottage where the smoke curled softly from a fire. The shepherd and his wife raised the children. They grew tall and proud and restless with dreams of something greater. Romulus and Remus dreamed of a city on the hills, a place of their own, a place where wanderers might gather, a place where strangers might belong. But the dream became quarrel. Romulus and Remus disagreed. Their voices echoed across the hills, sharp at first, then fading like distant thunder. The quarrel ended in silence, and Romulus alone stood by the hilltop. He traced the outline of walls into the earth, his hands steady, his heart sure. And so a city began, and from his name it was called Rome. At first, Rome was no empire, no grand city of marble. It was only a collection of huts built of straw and wood. Fires burned in hearths, smoke rising slow into the pale morning air. The streets were narrow, unpaved, more paths than streets. Shepherds led their goats through the hills, their footsteps measured, their voices low. Farmers turned the soil with oxen, the sound of plowing steady like a heartbeat. In the evening, children carried clay pots filled with cool water from the wells. Women ground grain by hand, the rhythm soft and endless like waves against the shore. Men sat near fires, telling stories slowly, their voices deep and calm. The night sky stretched above, stars flickering steady in the darkness. Life moved slowly in early Rome, each day unfolding without haste. 7 kings came, one after another, each leaving a quiet mark on the little city. Romulus was the first. He welcomed wanderers and exiles. He opened the gates wide and said all who had no home could find one here. So Rome grew, not by conquest, but by gathering the unwanted. The city became a refuge, a place where many voices blended into one. Temples began to rise, wooden at first, then of stone. Small shrines with oil lamps flickering softly in the dusk. Prayers were whispered, not with grandeur, but with steady rhythm. Merchants brought salt and grain, boats drifted along the Tiber. Their sails moving with the breeze, their cargo heavy but steady. At the docks, greetings were exchanged with quiet voices, with measured words. Life in early Rome was unhurried. Dawn came slowly across the hills. Oxen pulled carts, their hooves striking the earth in a calm beat. Fires glowed in kitchens, the smell of bread drifting into the air. Evening returned, shadows lengthened, and the city folded itself into rest. This was Rome in its beginning. Not yet a republic, not yet an empire. Only a settlement, small and growing, only a dream made real on 7 hills. As you listen, let the rhythm of ancient footsteps soothe you. Let the flicker of early fires calm you. Let the slow turning of time in this quiet city carry you toward sleep. The city of Rome rested quietly upon the 7 hills. Each hill rose gently above the river Tiber, its slopes covered with grass and scattered trees. In the morning, mist gathered low in the valleys, drifting like a veil across the land. The people woke slowly, stretching their limbs, listening to the first sounds of birdsong. Children rubbed their eyes, carrying small baskets to gather fruits and herbs. Their laughter soft, their steps unhurried upon the earth. Farmers stepped into the fields, guiding their oxen with calm voices. The plow moved forward slowly, cutting through the soil with steady rhythm. The air carried the smell of earth and grain, warm under the rising sun. Women kneaded dough, pressing and folding again. The motion was endless, patient like waves rolling upon a shore. In the kitchens, fires crackled softly, smoke rising through the gaps in the roof. As day stretched forward, merchants arrived at the riverbank. Boats glided across the water, their sails moving gently in the breeze. They carried bundles of salt, sacks of grain, cloth, and wool. The merchants exchanged goods, their voices measured, their movements deliberate. Coins passed from one hand to another, the sound faint like the tapping of rain. Each trade was simple, each trade was calm. At the heart of the city stood shrines to ancient gods. Wooden pillars tied with reeds, stone altars set upon the earth. Oil lamps flickered, their flames bending softly with the air. Men and women bowed their heads, whispering prayers as the lamps glowed steady. The scent of burning herbs drifted upward, blending with the cool air. There was no rush, only ritual, only patience. As the sun reached high, the city slowed further. Shadows shrank beneath huts and walls, the ground warm beneath bare feet. Children sat under trees, weaving small garlands of flowers. Elders told quiet stories, their voices deep yet soothing. Each story unfolded like a slow river, each word stretching into the next. The listeners leaned back, eyes heavy, lids half closed in the warmth of the afternoon. In the evening, the city softened again. Farmers returned with baskets filled, goats tied with rope, oxen led by hand. Women placed bread upon wooden tables, bowls filled with olives, figs, and cheese. Families gathered in circles, the firelight flickering gently across their faces. Stories continued through the night, myths of heroes, kings, and spirits. The fire glowed steady, the voices carried low, the night moved without haste. Beyond the fires, the hills were silent. The stars above shone in countless numbers, calm and endless. The river Tiber flowed slow and dark, carrying reflections of the moon. The water touched the banks with a rhythm steady and soothing. Anyone listening to that river would find their eyes heavy. The sound alone was enough to draw the mind into rest. Kings ruled one after another, each leaving traces behind. Some built walls of stone to mark the edges of the growing city. Others dug drains to carry water away, keeping the earth dry and fertile. Some raised temples grander than before, each step forward taken slowly. No king rushed, no change was sudden. Each was like a stone placed carefully upon another. The people of early Rome lived in patience. They rose with the dawn, moved with the day, and rested with the night. Every task was done in rhythm, grinding grain, drawing water, carrying wood, lighting fires. The rhythm itself was the heartbeat of the city, steady and calm. This was a city not of marble nor of empire. It was a city of earth and wood, of fire and smoke, of voices soft and unhurried. And so, as you listen, let your own breath take the same rhythm. Let the footsteps of farmers become your heartbeat. Let the flicker of fire become your thoughts. Let the quiet of ancient Rome carry you gently into rest. The hills of Rome stood silent beneath the sky. Grass moved gently in the wind. Shadows stretched long and narrow across the slopes. The little huts gathered close to one another, their walls leaning, their roofs thatched with straw. Inside each hut, a fire glowed, dim light flickering against clay jars, baskets, and wooden stools. The air was filled with the smell of bread and herbs, smoke curling slowly upward before vanishing into night. Children sat close to their mothers, weaving reeds into small mats, their fingers moving slow and careful. The sound of their laughter was soft and fleeting, like the chirp of hidden birds. Nearby, fathers mended tools, their hands worn but steady, the scraping of stone against metal, quiet and rhythmic. Neighbors drifted between huts, sharing food, sharing words, their conversations calm and unhurried. When the moon rose high, the city became even quieter. Dogs lay curled at the doorways, their breath slow and even. The sound of insects filled the air, a constant hum, steady and low. The river Tiber moved on, carrying the reflection of stars, its flow gentle, its voice a lullaby to all who listened. Kings ruled and guided the city, but their power was not loud nor sudden. It was steady, like the turning of the seasons. One king built drains beneath the earth, channels that carried water away so the city would stay dry. The sound of water moving through stone tunnels was soft, hidden beneath the ground, yet always present. Another king ordered wooden walls raised around the settlement, posts driven into the earth, one after another, forming a slow circle of protection. The hammering echoed across the hills, each strike measured, each pause long. Temples began to rise higher than before. Stone replaced wood, stone that felt cool beneath the hand, stone that endured the years. Oil lamps burned within these temples, their flames bending but never breaking. People came with baskets of grain, with jars of oil, with offerings given in silence. They bowed their heads, whispered their prayers, and departed, their footsteps fading quietly into the dust. As seasons changed, Rome changed slowly with them. In spring, fields turned green. Farmers sowed seeds, their motions patient, their voices guiding the oxen forward. In summer, the air grew warm, the river shimmered with light, boats drifting lazily upon its surface. In autumn, the fields turned gold, the harvest gathered into baskets, carried with care to the huts. In winter, fires burned longer, smoke rising straight into the cold night sky, families gathering closer together. Through every season, the rhythm of Rome was steady, constant, unbroken. Merchants came from villages beyond, bringing goods, strange and new, clay painted with patterns, baskets woven with care, fabrics dyed in colors bright yet soft in the lamplight. They spoke of lands far away, but their voices carried no urgency, only calm description. Listeners nodded slowly, their minds picturing mountains, seas, forests, all from the safety of their small huts. Stories of distant places were told as if in a dream, not as if they demanded action. The words themselves were like waves moving softly across the mind. As night deepened, the fires dimmed. Only embers glowed red against the dark wood. Voices faded one by one until only silence remained. The silence was not empty. It was full of rest, full of the breath of sleepers. It was the silence of a city at peace, of a people safe within their walls of wood and stone. And so Rome rested beneath the stars. The hills curved like gentle shoulders around the settlement. The river flowed, its song low and endless. The wind carried scents of grain and smoke, all of it blending into one quiet harmony. Listen now and let that harmony enter your own breath. Let the stillness of ancient Rome become your stillness. Let the slow rhythm of this city carry you further into calm, into rest, into sleep. The city of Rome continued to grow slowly upon the 7 hills. Each sunrise brought pale light spreading across the rooftops of straw and clay. The air was cool in the morning, carrying the smell of earth and grain. Farmers stepped quietly into the fields, their oxen pulling plows in calm, measured rhythm. The soil turned over in long furrows, dark and rich beneath the sky. Children followed their parents, carrying small baskets filled with seeds. Their laughter rose and fell like the call of gentle birds. They dropped the seeds into the soil, their hands small, their motions patient. The fields stretched outward, and the city lived upon their harvest. Merchants walked slowly through narrow paths, leading donkeys laden with goods. The sound of hooves against earth was steady and hollow. Clay pots rattled softly on the backs of animals, ropes creaked with each step. At the river, boats swayed against the banks, the water lapping calm against wood. Men lifted sacks and baskets, one by one, their movements slow and deliberate. Coins exchanged hands, the sound faint, the rhythm like distant rain. In the homes, women sat upon low stools, weaving cloth from wool. The loom creaked gently as their hands moved back and forth, back and forth. The pattern grew slowly across the threads, each line steady and even. The sound of the loom was soft, like the heartbeat of the household. Children sat nearby, plaiting reeds into small baskets, their laughter fading as concentration deepened. The huts smelled of herbs and smoke, of grain and oil, of wool warmed by the sun. At midday, the streets quieted. The sun climbed high, shadows shortened beneath the huts and walls. People rested in shade, lying upon mats, breathing slow and deep. The city hushed beneath the weight of the sun. Even the dogs lay still, even the birds held silence. Only the river moved, its surface glimmering with light, its flow constant and calm. As the sun lowered once more, life stirred again. Fires were lit, clay pots filled with stew simmering slowly, their scent drifting into the air. Families gathered, children leaning against their parents, elders speaking softly, their voices deep and low. Stories were told, stories of gods and kings, of spirits and ancestors. The words moved at the pace of breath, each phrase unfolding like the slow turning of a wheel. Listeners grew heavy-eyed, the flames reflecting in their gaze, their minds wandering quietly into dreams. Beyond the city, the hills stood dark against the fading sky. The first stars appeared, one by one, like small fires lit in the heavens. The moon rose pale above the horizon, spreading silver light upon the river. The Tiber moved gently, its voice low, steady, endless. The sound of water against stone was the lullaby of the city. It had always been there, it would always remain. The kings guided the people not with noise, but with order. One king built bridges across the river, their planks echoing softly under footsteps. Another carved roads from earth, leading outward so travelers could arrive with ease. Each step of growth was slow, each change woven carefully into the rhythm of life. The city expanded, but never lost its calm. In the temples, priests lit lamps as night deepened. The flames flickered, casting soft light upon stone altars. People entered with offerings, placing them gently upon the steps. They whispered prayers, their words almost indistinguishable from the sound of breath. The temple was filled not with grandeur, but with stillness, a place where silence itself was sacred. As the fires in the homes dimmed, the city folded into rest once more. Dogs curled at doorways, oxen lay upon straw, children closed their eyes. The hush of the night spread across every hut, every street, every hill. The city was wrapped in calm, as if held in the embrace of the earth itself. And so, Rome in its earliest days lived each cycle slowly and steadily, morning to evening, evening to morning. Work and rest, harvest and hunger, silence and story. The rhythm was unbroken, the people were at peace. Listen now and let that rhythm enter you. Let the steady plowing of fields become your breath. Let the slow turning of the loom become your heartbeat. Let the quiet flow of the river become your thoughts, and drift deeper, deeper into calm and into sleep. The morning light returned once more upon the 7 hills of Rome. Mist drifted low across the valleys as the first sounds of waking life began. Roosters called their voices, stretching into the pale sky. Fires were stirred from embers, smoke rising again to greet the day. Farmers moved slowly across the fields, their oxen pressing hooves into the soft earth. The wooden plow creaked with each step, the soil turning dark and rich. Children followed, scattering seeds, their small hands careful, their laughter carried gently upon the air. The rhythm of their work was patient, the rhythm of their voices steady. Within the city, women filled clay jars at the wells, water cool against their hands. They carried the jars balanced upon their heads, their steps slow across the uneven ground. The sound of water sloshing within the jars was like a song. Dogs padded softly at their feet, tails swaying with each motion. The wells echoed with voices, low and calm, a gathering of neighbors sharing words unhurried. Merchants prepared their stalls, arranging baskets of grain, figs, and olives, cloth folded into neat bundles, pottery lined in careful rows. They greeted each other with nods, their voices measured, their trades conducted with trust. Coins clinked softly, the sound brief, then fading like drops of rain into soil. The marketplace was alive, yet never loud, alive in the way of a steady heartbeat. At midday, the sun pressed heavy upon the roofs. The city slowed again. Shadows hid beneath doorways, cool air resting within huts. Families gathered indoors, sharing bread dipped in oil, drinking from clay cups. The air was still outside, only the faint hum of insects carried across the fields. The river flowed on, its surface shimmering like glass, its current calm beneath the sky. In the afternoon, workers repaired tools, sharpening edges, smoothing handles. Children sat close by, listening, watching, their eyes wide with curiosity. The scrape of stone against metal was steady and slow, each pass measured with care. Oxen rested in shade, chewing grass, their tails brushing away flies. The simple rhythm of life continued, hour after hour, unbroken. As the sun descended, the hills glowed with soft light. Fires were lit again, clay pots filled with stews and soups. The smell of herbs drifted across the city, carried by the evening air. Families sat in circles, the glow of fire dancing upon their faces. Elders spoke with calm voices, telling stories of gods and spirits, of kings and ancestors. Children leaned closer, their eyelids heavy, their thoughts carried into dreams. Beyond the city, the hills darkened, shadows stretching across the fields. The stars appeared countless and bright above the rooftops. The moon climbed higher, its pale light spreading across the river. The Tiber whispered against the banks, its rhythm endless, its voice soothing. Anyone who listened would feel their breath grow slower, their body grow heavier. The river song was the lullaby of Rome, a sound that never ceased. Kings still guided the people, one after another, each with calm direction. One king strengthened the walls, posts driven deeper into the ground, stones laid with patience. Another shaped the forum, a gathering place for voices to be heard, for trades to be made. It was a space open and wide, yet filled with silence more than with noise. Every step forward was taken in balance, every change absorbed into the rhythm of the city. In the temples, lamps were lit, oil burning with steady flames. The priests walked slowly, their robes brushing the stone floors. People entered quietly, offerings held in their hands, their heads lowered in reverence. They placed grain, fruit, or oil before the altars, their lips moving in whispers softer than breath. The temple air was filled with calm, filled with stillness, filled with the gentle glow of devotion. And as night returned fully, the city folded into sleep. Fires dimmed, embers glowing faintly beneath ash. Children curled into blankets, parents rested with eyes closed, dogs lay silent at the doors. The hush spread across every hut, every street, every hill. Only the river continued to sing its song, carrying the dreams of Rome beneath the stars. And so the cycle of early Rome continued, morning to night, season to season. Always steady, always patient, always calm. A city, not yet an empire, not yet a republic, only a quiet settlement upon the 7 hills. A place where life moved with rhythm, where every sound, every breath carried the people gently into rest. Let that rhythm be yours now. Let the voices of farmers and the flicker of fire become your dream. Let the flow of the river carry you deeper into calm and into sleep. The nights in early Rome were long and gentle. The city rested beneath a sky, the stars scattered wide and endless above the 7 hills. The air was cool, drifting through doorways, carrying the faint scent of earth and smoke. Within each hut, the fires burned low, casting soft light upon clay walls and woven mats. The breath of sleepers filled the silence, a rhythm slow and even. At dawn, the mist rose once more from the river, curling around the roots of trees. The hills appeared like islands above the sea of fog. Birds began their calls, their wings flashing in the pale light. Farmers woke and stepped into the fields, the sound of sandals pressing the soil soft and quiet. The oxen moved slowly, their horns glinting in the sun, their hooves pressing deep into the earth. The rhythm of labor returned steady and patient. Plows turned soil, seeds were scattered, water carried from wells. Hands worked carefully, shaping tools, weaving baskets, spinning wool. Each motion deliberate, each sound blending into the calm of the day. Children laughed, their voices soft, then fading into the hum of work around them. The market gathered again in the heart of the city. Merchants laid out fruit, herbs, and jars of oil. Cloth dyed with simple colors stretched across wooden frames. Pottery glimmered with soft glaze. Voices rose and fell in slow patterns, trades made with calm trust. The sound of coins, faint, as if swallowed quickly by the earth beneath. The marketplace was a circle of life, steady, constant, never rushed. Temples stood taller now, their stone foundations firm against the earth. Lamps burned within their walls, smoke curling upward into the open sky. The voices of priests were low and even, their chants like breath itself. People entered, carrying baskets, offerings held with care. They knelt. They placed the gifts before the altars. They whispered prayers, too soft to hear. The temple was not a place of noise, but of stillness, a place where silence itself seemed to speak. As years passed, the kings guided the city one after another. Each left behind small changes, each shaping Rome with patience. One dug channels that drained the marshes, turning swamp into dry ground. The sound of water flowing beneath the earth was soft, hidden, constant. Another ordered stones placed in roads, paths that led travelers into the city with ease. Each step across those stones echoed calmly, a sound that would remain for centuries. Walls of wood became walls of stone, heavier, stronger, more enduring. Hands placed each stone carefully, one upon another. The sound of hammer and chisel, measured and slow. The walls did not shout of power. They whispered of safety. They enclosed the people, They enclosed the dreams of Rome. Seasons turned over and over, spring into summer, autumn into winter. The rhythm never broken. The fields renewed each year. Grain bent heavy in the wind. Grapes ripened upon the vines. Olives pressed into oil. Every harvest was gathered with care, carried in baskets, stored within huts. Families worked together, their motions calm, their voices patient. The city lived not in haste, but in steady harmony. And when evening came once more, the cycle of rest returned. Fires glowed red within the huts. Smoke drifted upward into the night. Families gathered around elders, telling stories, their voices low and soothing. Stories of gods who watched from the heavens, of spirits who lingered in the earth, of kings who ruled with patience. Children leaned close, their eyes closing slowly, their minds filled with gentle images. The words were not commands, they were dreams. Dreams carried forward, generation to generation. The stars brightened above the hills, the moon silver against the dark sky. The river flowed, carrying light upon its surface, its voice never changing. The sound of water became the sound of breath, the sound of calm. The city slept, and with its sleep came peace. Thus was Rome, in its earliest days. Not yet a republic, not yet an empire, only a quiet settlement upon the 7 hills. A place where life was measured by the plow and the river. A place where fire warmed the huts and stories warmed the heart. A place where silence held as much power as any word. And so as you listen now, let Rome's stillness become your stillness. Let the slow rhythm of the fields become the rhythm of your body. Let the flicker of the fire become the flicker of your thoughts, fading gently. Let the river carry you as it carried Rome, ever onward, calm, unbroken, endless. Breathe slowly and drift deeper into rest, deeper into calm, deeper into sleep.